presidential candidates in 2016. Of course, a lot of Democrats are looking to Hillary Clinton for their chance to hang on to the White House in 2 years. But what do Democrats' losses mean for her ambitions? We're joined by Doug Schoen, a former advisor to President Bill Clinton and a Fox News contributor, and also Matt Schlapp, a former White House political director for President George W. Bush. Good afternoon to both of you. Matt, let's start with you. Let's start in the Midwest, where we're looking at John Kasich and also Scott Walker, both of them doing quite well in states that aren't exactly conservative. What do you think this means for them in 2016?
Look, I think if they're legitimate contenders, and I think they're both looking at the race, I think Scott Walker deserves a little more credit because he really won in a tough state with a tough Democratic challenger. I think Mr. Kasich rather took advantage of his opponent self-destructing earlier in the campaign. But both of them have a compelling case to make in states that will be critical. Certainly Ohio, we have to carry Ohio in order to win in 2016. But the key is the GOP field is going to be crowded, and I think that's actually good for our party. And
Doug, let's talk a little bit about Scott Walker. They're winning 3 elections in 4 years. He had that recall vote. He's been called basically enemy number 1 by unions. Do you think that he has a strong case to make for 2016?
Well, I think he does. But, Heather, he needs to broaden out his appeal to go from pension restructuring and union bashing to offering a positive pro-growth agenda for America. That is, what is he going to do to bring us all together and provide leadership as opposed to the kind of politics he has practiced in Wisconsin?
Matt, you know him. Can he do it?
Yeah, I think he can do it. I actually think he does have that kind of approach. And I think he's obviously had to win in a state. He's had to pull a significant number of Democrats and independents in order to get these victories. I think one of those issues that is going to be front and center in 2016, however, is national security. That's something that the governors are going to have to demonstrate they have some knowledge of as well.
Yeah, and that's a difficult one for a lot of governors, but I imagine that they're quickly up to speed. Ask you about Governor Chris Christie, of course, as the head of the Republican Governors Association, and he's charged with, of course, with electing more governors across the country, more Republican governors. He advanced that cause in some very blue states. We were just talking about this: Massachusetts, Maryland, the state of Illinois, where things are just abysmal right there. Doug, let's start with you. Has this advanced Chris Christie's cause if he wants to run in 2016?
Absolutely. I think you can't see it any other way, but he has a slightly different challenge. He needs to get up to speed on the range of issues that the federal government deals with, particularly national security issues. He's had a couple of missteps with regard to the Middle East and Israel, and he has to move past the bullying kind of politics we've seen in New Jersey. It may play well locally, particularly being a Jersey guy, but you can't be a Jersey guy throughout the country. It just doesn't work.
Matt, it's kind of nice to have that refreshing voice, somebody who calls it as they see it and not so much a diplomat in that. But how does that fare countrywide, the kind of talk that Chris Christie has?
Well, you know, a New Jersey voice might be refreshing for a period of time. I used to live in New Jersey, I can say this. But is it reassuring over a long period of time? And does the act wear thin? And that's the real question for Chris Christie. He came up on the national stage so vibrantly and really took people on and really took the unions on and really made a name for himself. But now the question is, can he get beyond that, be seen as more serious, be seen as a true president? I think Americans look at these candidates and say, do I see him conducting foreign policy?
Guys,
do I see him making the big questions?
Let's hold it right there. Stick around after the break. I want to ask you about the Clintons when we come back. We are joined again by Doug Schoen, a former advisor to President Bill Clinton and a Fox News contributor, and also Matt Schlapp, a former White House political director for President George W. Bush. We were just about to get to this, and that is the Clinton factor. Hillary Clinton went out and stumped for a whole lot of candidates. She supported at least 26 of them. 10 won, 13 lost, 3 of those races still undecided. Doug, is her star fading a bit on the campaign trail?
I don't think so. I think that this election was a repudiation, first and foremost, as every Republican I've heard say, of President Obama. And I think that the Clinton brand is separate and distinct from President Obama, and I don't think this has a appreciable impact on her fortunes and future.
Matt, do you agree with that?
No, I think it's untrue. I think here's what's the problem for Hillary Clinton. She has to convince the American people that the Democrats deserve a third presidential term, and I think that's going to be an awfully tough argument for her to make in 2016. Ronald Reagan was the last president to do it. Hillary Clinton is no Ronald Reagan.
All right. And Matt Schlapp, thank you so much, and thanks a lot for sticking around, guys.
My pleasure.
All right.